Beautiful people, namaste. Today I want to talk about an interesting development that I have been noticing in my private consultations. I take healing sessions. I also do one on one consultation for astrology. See, my healing sessions are basically energy balancing, chakra balancing, and healing of certain emotional conditions. I'm not a doctor in the traditional way, but what I do is energy correction. And during my recent healing sessions, I've encountered something really positive. So many people have woken up one day with a clear decision in their mind to give up harmful habits and addictions. It is such a positive thing. Someone who's been smoking since he was a teenager is now in his yesterday he told me, Madam, been there, done that. I suddenly decided enough is enough. So I went and bought myself some of this nicotine chewing gum and I just gave up smoking. Now this is very strange. Most people go through therapy, most people go through very heavy consultation and treatments to get rid of addictive habits. But for these people, suddenly the desire to indulge in addiction is gone. And not only that, they do not have withdrawal symptoms. They do not have cravings, or if they have cravings, the cravings are mild. I have encountered this for smoking, I have encountered this for sleeping pills, I've also encountered this for alcohol. Maybe this is because we have shifted into a higher vibration. If so, I am so happy about it. Of course, I don't say that all addicts are going to give up their addictions. No, some of us have our past life karma. Some of us have their soul contract. We have come into this life to experience this addiction and experience the dependency on these harmful substances. That is another story altogether. But I'm talking about certain addicts. Now, this brings me to a question. What is addiction? And how does addiction show up in a birth chart? Look, let's be reasonable over here. We are all human beings in the human condition, and we all have a little something that we turn to for comfort. It could be endless cups of chai. It could be through rewarding ourselves with something sweet when we achieve a certain milestone. For the more aware and experienced individuals, we have comparatively healthy addictions. Maybe this is because in our previous lives or in our earlier years, we have experienced the entire cycle of destructive dependencies. Now we are addicted to something like long walks, nimbu pani, reading, meditating. But there are some who go for hardcore practices: alcohol, drugs, junk food, extreme sex. Sure enough, they all have a very similar underlying theme in their horoscope. Almost always it's the moon, which is affected adversely by heavier planets: Saturn, Mars, Uranus, Neptune, Rahu. And many times it is enough for the moon to have an aspect with these heavier planets. The moon does not have to be conjunct with these heavier planets. What is the moon exactly? In Vedic astrology, it is the mind, the mother, mental state, morale, material things, happiness, peace, wealth. According to astrology, Moon is the lord of Cancer in the zodiac sign, and Rohini in the constellation, the nakshatra. When the mind is unset, we no longer have the balance, the peace, the harmony. And then if Saturn is aspecting through a difficult square or opposition, then such people tend to be fearful. They tend to worry, overthink, have a constant self criticizing internal voice, a monologue going on in their heads. And even worse, every encounter they have, even a minor disagreement, is seen as major judgment against them. They amplify negatives. And this constant self criticism, constant negativity, constant imbalance drives them to alcohol, to drugs. Another planet that I would like to talk about here is Uranus. If Uranus is close to the moon or is aspecting it difficultly, squares are always difficult. It it always means that in the past life or in their childhood, this person's emotional state has been disturbed. This person was living a very peaceful life, and certain reverses happened and he lost his peace. It's always a sudden change through disruptive events. Uh, the mother figure abandoning the child, or there is a change of residence, or there is a lack of availability of emotional support, divorce between the parents, or the paternal figure leaving and the maternal figure becoming emotionally unavailable because of this. The child has had to adapt quickly to a changed state of affairs, and this brings about an internal state of uncertainty, of volatility, and this child will be emotionally reactive, unavailable. Subconsciously, this child, even in adulthood, is expecting sudden changes. So, in even in peace, this person is always under stress, always expecting something bad to happen. In a hyper alert stage. So, to relax, to release this nervous energy, this person needs something to depend on. Normally, they go for alcohol, for food, painkillers. But if they go for things like meditation, long walks, they would actually be better and healthier. Now let's talk about Neptune. Neptune is the ruler of alcohol and drugs. If a Neptunian person sees a problem, then they need to self-medicate. It is due to them being very impressionable. They are natural empaths. If a Neptune heavy person is sitting on a bus next to a stranger who is very agitated, they pick up on that vibration and start worrying and feeling restless themselves. They do not have their walls up. And because they don't have boundaries, their inner vulnerability is easily triggered. So they desensitize through alcohol or they take sedatives just because they want to escape. This constant state of being open to other people's emotions. They also self medicate because they are looking for magic in their lives. Because ordinary life for people with very active Neptune is very boring, very dull. They need the excitement, the magic. And the fastest way they can get that is through substances. So if you are looking at a chart, if you see Neptune, which is connected to the sun, moon, or ascendant, this signature can play out. People can be very compassionate, they can be artistic, but they can be deceptive, they can be con artists also. They can be saviors, but they can also be martyrs. And of course, they can be escapists. And their escape comes from drugs and alcohol. Now, this is for people with the Scorpio moon. Scorpio people, you're obsessive. And you need to find a proper channel to deal with your obsessiveness. Scorpios are about control. And you can fool yourself all you want. You know that you have control over alcohol or the drug of your choice. But it is a karmic soul contract that you come with into this world. You have come here to understand that you are not all good. There are factors in your life that you have to let go. You do not have to control everything. So, Scorpio people, be very careful. The drugs and the alcohol that you try to control might end up controlling you. Now, let's get back to the planets. Pluto. Pluto, actually, I talked about Scorpio because Pluto goes hand in hand with Scorpio tendencies. A person whose Pluto is prominent and is an addict believe that they are winning. They've got everything under control. They like to drink, but they can give up anytime. That's what they believe. But if Pluto is in a hard aspect to Moon, or is in conjunction with the moon, it is dangerous. Pluto is a planet of obsessions. It is the representative of all the inner demons in you. It's the darker side of you which you want to hide from, which you want to reject. People with Pluto aspect of any kind with the moon can be susceptible to addictions due to their intense nature. They cannot let go of the past, of the pain that they have experienced. If you betray a person with a Pluto aspect moon, that betrayal stays with them. They feel that betrayal every day. If you insult that person, that insult lives and is fresh in their minds forever almost. They cling to the bad negatives, the darkness, as if their life depends on it. They do not know how to let go. Normally, in my healing sessions, if I find somebody with a Pluto and in an aspect with the moon, believe me, this is very common. I find a lot of Pluto people, a lot of Scorpio people who come to me for healing, and I have to work with them to help them release the hurt, the pain. And once they release the hurt and pain, these people are so powerful. They are unstoppable because all that energy that was going into keeping the pain alive is now free and they can create with that energy. Now let's talk about Saturn. If a Saturn person is tempted to addiction, it is because of burden, of guilt, or they are feeling oppressed. If you have a strong Saturn in your chart and you are not being able to express it properly in your life, such a person can turn to drink to cover feelings of depression, of lack, of sadness. Now let's talk about Uranus. A strong Uranus can put you into substance abuse. Uranus is a planet of freedom, of rebellion. Can you imagine a teenager with a strong Uranus, a person who wants to rebel, wants to experiment, wants to push boundaries? They do not want to listen to sense. They do not want to be disciplined. They want to be free. And such a teenager can easily get addicted to drug abuse, to alcohol. The problem I have seen, people with strong Uranus energy don't want to give up their addictions. They have this attitude that the rules don't apply to them. They are above everyone and everything. So they are not very compliant with their healing sessions. As an astrologer, I have seen Uranus people really struggle with addiction all through their lives. Now let's talk about Jupiter. It's Jupiter is normally a very noble planet, but they also love having a good time, a good life, and they get addicted just because they are actually having fun. It is not their plan to get addicted, but they get addicted because they are having too much fun too often. But normally, I've seen Jupiter people being addicted to unhealthy food, not to alcohol and drugs so much as to food. But again, I have seen that if Jupiter people give up their addictions, they become the best mentors for other people who are struggling with substance abuse. Mars with an aspect to the moon. This is irritation, this is anger. They have so much anger, so much emotion in their life, so much aggression that they normally go into substance abuse to soothe their feelings, to get a relief from that anger. Now let's talk about Rahu, the north node of the moon. If Rahu is in the same sign as the moon, or it's squaring the moon, which is like the fourth sign from the moon, na? It would indicate that this person is overwhelmed by powerful greed, powerful desire. See, what Rahu is if you are talking about Vedic astrology, Rahu is the demon's head. If you're talking about the Chinese astrology, it is the head of the dragon. Whichever way you look at it, it symbolizes the reptilian brain, which is insatiable. It wants. It wants everything, the power, the privilege, the good things in life. It wants to enjoy everything. So when it is connected to the this dragon's head or the demon's head is connected to moon, which is the mind, which is the emotions, the desire, the greed becomes insatiable. It is impossible to resist this craving. Such humans have a very strong lust for life, for material achievements, for physical pleasures, for worldly experiences. Such people will break rules to feed their greeds. They're emotional gluttons. They're always hungry, always wanting the next drink, the next sexual encounter, or the next sexual partner, the next achievement. Even many times they have the present good thing in their hand, but they're already craving the next. high. Rahu is very compulsive. In the end, I would just like to say that alcoholism, addiction, is not a disease, it is a symptom of a disease. When these planets are showing up in the difficult aspects, it means that the person who is afflicted by this addiction is dysfunctional. This person is not centered, not in the flow. So it is always very good for such a person to practice EFT or to start doing something creative like sketching, like listening to music, playing music, meditating. The mind, once it is free, even for a few moments in a day, from the constant fight for or against addiction, it is disengaged, it goes into the flow, the person will find relief. So you, if we are going to treat such a person, we have to teach them how to switch off, to get into the flow. Of course, astrologically, we can prescribe them a lot of things to overcome addiction, like gemstones, like mantras, like meditation, and also performing rituals dedicated to the ruling planet. I often talk about people getting into physical activity. Physical activity is very, very good. If such a person goes for Tai Chi or any of these energetic exercises, even yoga, it can be very helpful. If you would like me to study your chart, if you want to consult with me, if you want some healing treatments, do get in touch with me and do like and subscribe. This is Ritu Lalit, healer, astrologer, and thank you for joining me today. Until next time, namaste.